Hey, what's up, VC? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel, and I'm back with another country music update. It's been a while since I did one, so I figured I'd throw one together real quick. I've got a bunch of stuff that's I've been listening to recently, stuff that's been sitting there for a while that I listened to, that I was listening to 6 or 7 months ago. And I've just been doing so few videos lately that I decided to do one big one and just kind of catch up. In the background, we're listening to a killer album. I still need to get this one on vinyl, but this is Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard, Django and Jimmy. This is their 5th or 6th album that they did together. And not only is this their last collaboration, this is the last album that Merle Haggard put out before he died. This came out in 2015. It's a duets album, obviously. Some killer songs on here. A couple of them are songs that have been around for years. You got this one right here. You got a little Jamie Johnson song right here. So you got some covers on here as well. Just a killer album from both, and both Willie and Merle sound great on here. I highly recommend that. So we'll just kind of jump in right here. Right off the top, we got Promised Land from Willie Nelson. Just a classic album. I've actually got a couple copies of this one, but this one is super clean. So this will be replacing what's in the collection right now as I start trimming down all these duplicate copies of stuff that I got. I'm trying to find some really nice copies of everything. But Living in the Promised Land, Here in My Heart, No Place But Texas. Let's see, Pass It On is a great song. I've just... Willie Nelson. This is early 80s too, I believe. Mid-80s, 86. Willie's just one of those artists that he's never been off. Even his less popular albums are still just really great albums. And coincidentally, next up, we got a little bit of Merle Haggard. This was not planned. It just kind of how it laid there. So that's kind of funny that that's what's playing in the background. But this is a 2-record comp that he did. This was 77, 78 when this came out. Yeah, it looks like it was 77. But real good comp. It's songs I'll always play, or songs I'll always sing. But this is from what I understand, this is a compilation he put together of his favorite songs. And it's just full of absolute classics. I mean, and there's a live version of Okie from Muskogee on here that's really good. But every song on here, Kentucky Gambler, I'm a Lonesome Fugitive, I Forget You Every Day, Emptiest Arms in the World. Just phenomenal album. And another Merle Haggard comp. This one just another comp full of great albums. I mean, he just had so many great albums, and a lot. There's a couple crossovers from that last one, but 90% of this is different songs. But this is called Winners. It's All in the Movies. It's Not Love. Everybody Had the Blues is a great song. Carolyn. Moving on. Next up, I was really happy to find this. This is one I've been looking for a while. And I found it in super clean condition for like I think I paid $10 for it. It was still in the rat or the in the shrink too. But this is Waylon Jennings' major label debut. He had one album that was recorded at JD's that he put out a few years earlier. It was put out by a radio station in Phoenix, if I remember correctly, or they were involved in the recording of it. And that thing goes for crazy money. But this was his major label debut. This was also a soundtrack and also his movie debut. And a really good movie. It's called Nashville Rebel. And you can actually go on YouTube. I actually went on YouTube and watched this at work one day. And it's really good. But so side A is all Waylon, and side B is the movie soundtrack. But some huge hits here. You've got Silver Ribbons, Nashville Bum, Nashville Rebel is awesome, Green River, Tennessee, I'm a Long Way From Home. He also does a cover it actually hit the charts when it came out, and I had heard it before. It's not my favorite cover, but he does a cover of Norwegian Wood as well. But just a killer album, and one that I highly recommend you have in your collection. And this one, I can't remember. Yeah, this one's the stereo version. But great album. Next up, actually another Willie Nelson. This was a Record Store Day release from the last Record Store Day. I was really happy to get this. This album is an absolute masterpiece. I would put this in my top 5 Willie Nelson albums of all time. And it was 2000. Oh, it came out in 96. I thought it was a little later than that. But this is Spirit. That's one of the coolest album covers right there with that sepia. It just looks awesome. And then another killer shot. That would have been a great album cover as well. And then the vinyl is also, they call it sepia vinyl. But just a phenomenal album. And it's a must-have if you're a Willie Nelson fan, this one here. Can't get that thing back in the bag. Next up, a little bit of David Allan Coe. We got A Matter of Life and Death, Dedications and Meditations. I mean, it's just a really good David Allan Coe. This is 87. This one is a promo copy. Love this album cover too. No big hits that I remember off of here. If Only Your Eyes Could Lie is really good. Child of God. Southern Star. 10 Commandments of Love. 10 Commandments of Love may have been. But this one was dedicated to his father. You can actually, he does a little dedication right there to his dad. I got another David Allan Coe in here too. Yeah, here we go. This one's Darlin' Darlin', another one of his 80s albums. Just another really solid country album. Let's see. Again, I don't remember any of these being big hits at the time. But it's David Allan Coe. We can't really go wrong. Next up, this was this one VCLT? I believe this one was VCLT from Billy. But this is Waylon, New Stuff. This is, again, another Record Store Day release of some demos that he had put on tape. It's stuff that it was all working copies. None of these were final edits. Shooter decided to clean them up and release them, and it's there's some good stuff on here. You can definitely tell that it's not final cuts. It's pretty raw, pretty rough. It still sounds really good though. He's still telling some great stories. Definitely worth having if you're a Waylon Jennings fan. Just some nice rarities on here. But if you're not a Waylon fan, it's not one that you need to go out and you have to seek. And this one, actually, I like it. It's kind of cool. But the version of the song that I like the most is actually on that album. And this is Waylon Jennings and Friends. He's the champion. It's a tribute to Muhammad Ali. And it's basically 6 versions of the same song. Actually, the Jesse Coulter and Chris Christopherson version, the Waylon acoustic demo are probably my favorites. And Dave Cobb does a good remix too. But I listen to it. It's one of those novelty things. I may pull it out again 10 years from now just to check it out again. But next up, Greatest Hits Volume 4. I think he's got like 6 Greatest Hits albums, not including all the other comps and stuff that he has, just volumes 1 through 6. And every song on all of them is absolutely phenomenal. He was just such a good singer and such a good songwriter. This is the late, great Don Williams, who we lost, I believe, last year. But this, again, is also, I mean, is a promo copy. And nothing but good songs. Love Is on a Roll. That's the Thing About Love. Maggie's Dream. Louisiana Saturday Night. Falling Again. Walking a Broken Heart. I mean, just all phenomenal songs from the Gentle Giant there. Next up, it took me a while to get into this particular artist, but now I'm kind of digging her. This is not my favorite release from hers. This is a live from a documentary that somebody did about her. But she's on Bloodshot Records. This was actually released on MVD Audio, so I'm not sure what that's about. But this is Lydia Lovelace. Just a really good kind of alt rocker, alt country, underground country artist that I've been kind of digging on the last couple years. Now this one I bought a while ago. I didn't show it back when I bought it because I had sent a copy to Billy and I didn't want him to know what was coming. This is one of the all-time, it's probably the greatest. It's definitely the top 3 best country albums of all time. For me, it's my all-time favorite. And it's definitely the most important of the Rebel country albums. But this is Honky Tonk Heroes from Waylon Jennings. I've got an original pressing of this. This one is actually a repress from, I think, 2013 by Fat Possum Records. These things, originals, are getting impossible to find. The prices are starting to creep up, even for albums that are in shitty condition. So I highly recommend, if you like country, that's an album you have to have. It's a must-have album. Again, one of the most important albums of the 70s for sure, and definitely one of the most important of the, if not the important of the outlaw country. I said rebel country earlier, of the outlaw country movement. Next up, Charlie Daniels Band, Way Down Yonder. This is his second or third album. I can't remember. This is 74 on Karma Sutra. If you haven't heard the early Charlie Daniels stuff, I mean, he's always had a hard rock, a 70s hard rock, 70s southern rock vibe to his music. But there's some tracks on here. If I played them for you, if I did one of the 70s hard rock videos that a lot of people have been doing lately, and played a track on here and didn't tell you who it was, you would never guess it was the Charlie Daniels Band. It's just such a great album. You know, everybody gets caught up in Devil Went Down to Georgia, which is a great song, but he's got some way better stuff in the early 70s, and if you haven't explored that stuff, I highly recommend checking it out. Just really solid album. Next up, just another one of the upgrades. I love this movie. Sissy Spacek did such a good job singing these songs. And like I said, the movie is absolutely phenomenal. I had another copy of this. It didn't sound too good, so I was really happy to find a nice upgrade. But this is Coal Miner's Daughter, which is a story of Loretta Lynn. Next up, the second album from K.D. Lang and the Reclines. I don't actually like this one. I was really blown away by what was her third album? Absolute Torch and Twang. Blew me away. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I was really surprised by how much I liked it. So when I ran across this, her second album, I decided to grab it and check it out. This one's also a promo copy. It's still good. It's not one that I think I'll revisit, though. I may listen to it one more time just to give it another chance. But when I'm in the mood for some K.D. Lang or that style of country, I'm definitely going to Absolute Torch and Twang, which is just a phenomenal album. Next up, another upgrade copy. Found this really clean copy of the Linda Ronstadt self-titled album. Next up, this one was a couple record store days ago, and I may have shown it back then. I can't remember. This is another one of the bands that I've always heard everybody talk about, or one of the artists, and I just never checked them out. And then the first thing I heard I didn't really like. But everybody told me to just check out his other stuff, so that's what I did. And I ended up digging this. This is Eric Church, Caught in the Act. And again, this is a record store day. This is, like I said, I think this was 2 record store days ago. I don't know what's happened with this one. It's on this translucent red vinyl. But for some reason, a lot of the Eric Church record store days stuff goes through the roof. I don't think this one did. I think you could still get this one for a decent price. So if you're an Eric Church fan, definitely grab that while it's still available, because his stuff tends to disappear and just shoot up in price. And then these next few are from the same artist, and I've actually had these for about a year now, and they've just been in heavy rotation, and I highly recommend all of them. But this is Sonic Ranch from Whitey Morgan in the 78s. This one was 2016, I believe. 2015 is when this one came out. Can't remember if this one's on colored vinyl. Yeah, this one's on white colored vinyl. And speaking of like Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard, he's definitely in that area. He definitely has the 70s sound. Most of his albums are half original, half covers, which I've seen a lot of people complain about, but traditionally that's what country music is. If you look at most of the big country music albums from the 60s and 70s and the 80s, a lot of those songs that you've grown to love are actually cover songs from earlier artists, and that's always, like I said, been a tradition in country music. But this one is the self-titled Whitey Morgan in the 78. This one's from a few years earlier. Let's see what this is. This one's 2010. And this one again is on Bloodshot, and so is the next one. Bloodshot, just a really killer label. And last time when I bought these a while, they were relatively cheap. I think I only paid like $15 a piece for that one and the one I'm about to show. And the other one I ordered directly from Whitey's website. And this one is absolutely phenomenal. This may be in the top 10 or 15 country music live albums. This guy, this is what this guy is really known for. His studio albums are really good, don't get me wrong. But live, this guy is an absolute star. He's one of those guys that's on the road like 250, 300 days a year, just lives on the road. And this album just picks all that up. I mean, they did a great job recording this. And this is Born, Raised, and Live from Flint, Michigan. A must-have album right there. And then last but not least, actually we got through this a little bit quicker than I thought we would. Last but not least, I may have talked about this or shown it. I've gotten a chance to listen to it more. This is Chris Stapleton, live from A Room. I think this is Volume 2, right? Yeah, live from A Room, Volume 2. A Room is basically Studio A in Nashville, which is a pretty famous studio. Some of the biggest country music songs of all time were recorded there. And not just country music, they record everything in Nashville, but it's a very famous studio there, and his dream was to record there, so that's why he recorded this. Billy and I were talking back and forth, though. The Traveler, one of the best country music albums of all time. For me, it's top 20. It's such a great album. Absolutely phenomenal. These last 2 albums haven't been as good. We were kind of talking about it, and we were wondering if maybe he kind of burned out on that. No, I don't want to say burned out, because these 2 albums are phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But we thought maybe he used all his good songs. And then I was watching him on the Chris Stapleton on Joe Rogan. He actually mentioned that the songs from A Room Volume 1 and Volume 2 are all old songs. Some of them are 15 years old. He basically didn't write anything new for these last 2 albums. He was just trying to get albums out to meet demand. And it's all good songs. This is another solid album. It's still better than 99% of the shit that's coming out of Nashville right now. Better than 99% of the good stuff that's coming out of Nashville. It's still a great album. A lot of bluesiness in this one. His wife, Morgan, sings backing vocals on a lot of the tracks here, which I really dig. She's got an amazing voice too. I would love to see him write an album for her, or for her to release an album as well, because she's got a beautiful voice. But definitely, it's one you need to get. It's still a great album, don't get me wrong. The Traveler is just such a masterpiece, and it's one of those things where that's going to be hard to top too. So hopefully the next album that he does, we'll see some new stuff, as opposed to him pulling out stuff from 10-15 years ago and recording that. But regardless, that's it, guys. Take care. I'll have something else up soon. Bye bye.